Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
I'm so happy that you're here. I've talked to my YouTube family and let them know in advance, way in advance, because they know that I'm super excited about you as as my coach. So so whatever. It's crazy. Like, I've never had a guest like on the channel, so this is my first time. I know you have you've been on a guest on others channels, so
yep.
So would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Rosemary Broco, and I have been working on my own childhood traumas and demons, and we're going to define that and talk about what that is, and working with other people to do the same thing and empower their lives and create an inner world and an external world that really aligns with who they really are. And I've been doing that for about 10 years, working with others. And for myself, I've been doing it since I'm like 19.
Oh, wow. I remember when I first met you, and I was in a bad situation. And when I read your ad on Facebook, the whole ad, it just really like reached out to me. It was food for the soul. It was a lifeline and more. And so when I reached out to you, I was just desperate because I was just in such a life situation. I just felt like something is missing. I don't really know what's going on with me, and I need help. And since then, my life has changed so much.
That makes me so happy.
I'm really thankful that I met you. And I've been thinking about having you on the show because I've connected with so many other women on the channel. And like I told you before, and I feel like that you would increase the quality of their life with the stuff that I've learned from you and the stuff that you know. So awesome. What do you want to talk about today?
Well, I think we sort of discussed that we would talk about sort of what is childhood trauma and what isn't. So what it is and what it isn't, and what you can do about it, how you can shift it and actually use it as a positive to become more of your true self, and how to get that experience not only to shift what's going on inside of you, but what you're experiencing in every aspect of your life.
Okay. So you taught me about the big T's and little T's. Can we start right there?
Sure. So a big T trauma is the stuff most people associate with childhood trauma: physical abuse, sexual abuse, those types of big events where either your life was threatened or you feel like you experienced as a child that your life was threatened. Little T traumas are smaller events where nobody's life was threatened, but internally you have that same experience. The nervous system, everything reacts in the same way.
Yeah.
However, it could be if you have, say, a parent who is emotionally cold or emotionally absent. It's not really one event, even if the physical abuse is multiple events. This is more of a day-to-day, if there's gaslighting, things like that, where you're being forced. Now, remember, you're a child, and so you don't have the mental capacity to process this stuff. And so if someone is making you feel on a day-to-day basis that something is wrong with your own inner knowings, your own inner perceptions, if your emotions aren't being acknowledged, those types of things, that creates a very big rift between who you really are and trusting your inner self and what you're experiencing on the outside. So you wind up not trusting yourself on many, many different levels. Those are just a couple of examples. Like an example that you often hear about little T traumas is like, if you're in kindergarten and you wet your pants in front of the class, like nobody's life was threatened, but the internal experience
That's what it feels like.
Very emotional. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember, yeah.
So any of those sort of smaller events or smaller, or what seem smaller, kind of compact day-to-day living, what you're experiencing in your day-to-day. And it's super common because, as a species, we're evolving. And so our parents didn't know how to handle their own emotions. How were they supposed to teach us? They didn't know how to trust their own intuition and how to teach us to trust ours. They didn't, it's like, if they can't speak Spanish, that you can't teach your kids to speak Spanish. It's the same thing.
Exactly.
You can't give to your kids what you don't have yourself.
I get that. Yeah. I remember my mama had always told me, she was like, sure, you're so talented in so many different ways, but the anxiety was so bad. Like, for example, singing in front of people. Like, I've always had a beautiful voice, but when I would sing, like, I would get so nervous. You could hear the tremble and the anxiety in my voice. It was terrible. My palms would get wet. It was just awful. And I remember that. And we never knew why, as I was growing. But of course, now I know why. And when you and I were working and doing the tapping, and I might be going ahead of your conversation, but the anxiety, it settled down a whole lot. I mean, a lot. It's a big difference now.
Yeah, I think, at least what I've experienced for myself and with my clients, the most important piece really is understanding and trusting and having emotional intelligence, like trusting your own emotions and learning how to navigate them, honoring them and not denying any of them, while also working on yourself so that you're not also just, projecting your negative emotions all over every aspect of your life. But learning how to work with them is probably the most empowering piece. What do you think? What would you say is the most important piece of the work that you've done?
Yeah, learning about my emotions and my feelings and spending time with them, trying to figure them out, and those things. Yeah, the emotional work was profound with me. It was so hard at first. I remember one time you asked me a question. It was like, well, how do you feel about that? Well, what emotions? And I was like, huh? Like almost like an animal. Sometimes like when a dog be like, huh? But I couldn't explain it. You know what I'm saying? But now I can say that I'm frustrated and I'm embarrassed, or just all those things to describe like how I'm feeling. Once I do that and sit with myself, then it's just a conversation that I'm having with myself. I never knew how to do that. I never knew that I was supposed to do that. You want to call somebody up on the phone and talk it through with them. But when you talk it through with yourself and spend time with yourself, with the emotional stuff, it's a centering that happens, and a confidence that comes with it.
Yeah. And it's always the hardest part for people. Like, it's the very first thing, because actually working on the trauma, when you have tools and techniques, that's the easy part. Like, you can do tapping, you can do matrix re-imprinting, you can use these tools. But if you can't experience yourself and navigate the layers of what's underneath there and what needs to be worked on, then you don't know what to bring into the tools and techniques. So once you're in that place where you can, like you said, you can feel it, instead of calling someone and just looking for validation externally, from which is codependence, and saying, oh, let me tell you the story so you can tell me that I'm right and that other thing is wrong. Instead of doing that, where you get to the layers of what's going on, am I feeling insecure? Am I feeling unworthy? Am I not trusting life? Am I not believing that things can work out for me? Like, what are those deeper layers? And once you can pinpoint those, then you can just put them into the tools, use the tools, and that's when you shift the stuff out of the way. And that's when you experience, not only do you feel better inside, but stuff starts changing on the outside in ways that seem really magical.
Yes. Yes. And that's the great part about everything. That's when you begin to like change your life. You know, when it manifests, that's a good word. When you see the manifestation of the emotional work that you've done. And I've seen that all over the place. But of course, I'm still working on things. I think I always work on things. I love it.
Yes.
Yeah.
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 I still work on things because
Yeah.
we always want to grow, right? You get to a certain point and you're like, okay, wow, I'm comfortable in this place that I was never comfortable before. And then it's like, well, what else can I do? And then
Do.
you take the next step and
Yeah.
more stuff comes up because you're expanding, you're putting yourself out there more, you're getting bigger. So then when you move into that new place, the stuff comes up. But when you've done the work and you have the tools, you're able to go, okay, here's some stuff. Let me work on it. And it even though when you're in the middle of it, it still can be uncomfortable, but you have an excitement because you're empowered. You're like, oh, I'm uncomfortable, but there's something here that I can clear out of the way. And I know I'm going to get to the other side of it. And it's fun.
It is fun. I'm kind of dealing with some stuff now because at one point I had bad anxiety around dealing with business and especially banks. And so now I'm on the phone with Carla and and Ron from the bank, and we get to talking about regular life. Like, I don't know, it's just I know I'm not weird and crazy about the bank anymore. You know what I mean?
Whatever that trigger was isn't there anymore.
Yeah, I didn't realize that those emotions from, losing a home long time ago, foreclosure and all the scary stuff that happened in my past. I didn't realize that I was, when I don't deal with the bank now, it's based on that, when I wasn't. But when I started doing the emotion work and you told me, you said, Cheryl, it'll go into other areas of your life. It'll go from personal to business. And, it's for every area. And then I was like, oh, I got weird emotions about the bank. Let me do some tapping about that. And then it shifted. And there I was. Okay, I've done this. Let's see what else I can do. So yeah, it works. It certainly works.
Yep. And it's like that with everything. I mean, I have tons of childhood trauma, both big T and small t in my childhood. And so I describe it as, if you think of yourself as a spider in the middle of a web, and in that web is all the aspects of your life, but you're the center point of that. So when you change yourself, it vibrates out into all of the areas of life because you are the one who's creating all of those things.
Right. Yeah. That's a wonderful.
And same thing. It's money, relationships, everything. I'm
working on the money piece.
Yeah.
I'm working on the money piece now. Yeah. So it's great. It was, so are we going to talk any about shadow work? I kind of want to. Okay.
Sure.
Could you explain what shadow work is?
Sure. So there's different people have different definitions of this. So I'm going to explain what it means to me and what it means within the work that I do. So I think of the shadow as the subconscious mind. It's that aspect of yourself that's behind. I think of it as behind the conscious mind. So the conscious mind is the part of you that can sit there and go, I'm a good person. Like, I deserve good things. I deserve to have money. I deserve to have people who are nice. And you really feel that, you experience that. But then there's that like guilty conscience that's in the background that says, are you really? Isn't everything your fault? Well, you're not really good enough and you don't really deserve that. And that's not really possible. And that's because the conscious mind is the part of your mind where it understands time and space, like here and there and now and then. So when you sit down to write a list to go to the grocery store and you're thinking about going to the grocery store later and you're writing that list, that's the conscious mind. The subconscious mind works more like a computer. When we're born, when we come into this world, we're a brand new blank computer. And everything that we see, and experience, everything we witness, everything we feel, all of those things are putting programs into that computer, because the mind is all about keeping you safe. And so it's trying to learn how to navigate this place, planet Earth, that it finds itself in. And it puts programs in. So you can think of it like driving a car, like when you first got your license and you're like, oh my God, hands on 10 and 2 and put my foot on the brake. But eventually, right. But eventually a program gets downloaded and you just know, you get in your car and
you flow.
Right. And sometimes you can get places and be like, I don't even remember getting off the exit. Like I don't remember putting my blinker on. And that's because the subconscious mind was driving the car while your conscious mind was busy thinking about whatever you're thinking about, or changing the radio station and listening to music and singing or whatever you're doing.
Wonderful way of explaining it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you can be thinking about something and very well driving, using your signal, turning, backing up. Yeah. Yeah, that's a wonderful way of explaining it.
Yes. And the conscious mind can only handle 3 things at once.
Okay.
So as soon as you're doing 3 things with the conscious mind, so thinking is included in that, the subconscious mind kicks in and takes over. And this is why, like in relationships, say you get into a new relationship and you're very conscious of what you're saying and what you're doing and how you're interacting, but eventually you get comfortable with that person. And then you're not consciously paying attention or controlling. And that's when all the habits and patterns from childhood start showing up in the relationship. Because how you relate to yourself, how you relate to money, how you relate to relationships, or you have programs for all of that were installed by your family. So if you as an adult don't agree with how your parents had a relationship, or how they made money, or how they lived their life, you have to swap out those programs to be in line with what you believe, or you're going to be forever running off those old programs.
So you have to consciously swap out those programs that came from the parents or your model home in order to get new ones to run by a program that you want.
Yes. And that's, believe it or not, Cheryl, that's what we were doing with the tapping. That's what you're doing with the matrix re-imprinting. That's what you're doing. And just so your audience understands, these are, and we can go more deeply into them maybe in a different video, but they're techniques that bring you into an altered state of consciousness where the conscious mind is in the background and the subconscious mind is brought forward, and we can ask it questions and we can let it tell us things so that it's defining for us. It's letting us know, oh, this is why you're stuck there.
And
we can shift that out.
The program. It
right.
is the program.
The program or whatever events or experiences put that program in there. And then you use those techniques to resolve the emotions that are still held attached to those programs. And when you release that, they move out of the way. And all of us have an inner wisdom. All of us do know on a very deep spiritual level that we can have what we want, that we can experience beautiful relationships, that we deserve and can have wealth and all of those things. So when we shift that other stuff out of the way that's blocking the positive, natural part of us just comes forward.
Comes out. So there are negative programs and bad emotions that are attached to those programs that have to be moved out of the way in order for you to create the reality that you want.
Yep. And then this is why you hear so many coaches and so many people, it's very like a buzzword now, that, oh, you have blocks, move your blocks out of the way, that kind of thing. And that's what it refers to. Like, there is whether you want to call it God or your higher self or your intuition, whatever you want to call it, is constantly sending you intuitions and ahas about how to take steps toward what you want. But those negative emotions that we have attached to life and to different experiences are blocking us from hearing and feeling and receiving those intuitions. So when you move that out of the way, those things flow naturally and you can follow them.
And that's what we're here doing today. That's the end goal, right? Yep. That is the end goal for me and our listeners and you and all of us, because we know that life comes with lots of challenges in old programs. But the powerful thing about your work that you've done and what I've learned from you, Rosemary, and beyond, is that taking a position in your life where you change those things. Because I think prior to me meeting you, I think I thought, well, I've been taught certain things and that's just how it is, you know?
That's such a good point, Cheryl.
Huh?
That's such a good point.
Yeah, I've been taught certain things and that's just what it is. Like, you know, the people that were before me in my family and the people that surround my life, that's how they did it. So I guess that's how I'm supposed to do it. And I've tried to do some other things, but that old program just had a chokehold. I'm serious. It was,
and deep. It feels natural, like you're saying. It feels like this is reality. This is how life works. But who's to say? Who? Your parents? How non-dysfunctional were they? Really? Even people who I know who had, you know, much more healthy upbringings than I had. It's still. There were, like we were talking about evolution earlier. It's still, it's a human thing. They just didn't know. And that was their reality. And you can choose whether to live that reality or to swap that out for a reality that aligns with you. And that's the reason that it makes us so uncomfortable, is because it's like, well, this is what I was told was reality, but this is not what I want. Like, I don't want to experience this. And so we walk around with this turmoil every day of like, this is what I'm experiencing. This is what I'm supposed to do. This is how I'm supposed to make money. This is this is what relationships look like. But it's that higher part, again, God, your intuition, your higher self, whatever you want to call it, is also in there, because it's not all shadow and bad. The light is in there too. And it's in there going, but I know I can have, like, I can't live without these things. I can't live without feeling better. I can't live without having a better life. I can't live without having the money and the time to myself and the love and the support and all of those things in my life.
Exactly. You were saying the God self, you know, that's always been like a huge part of my life, you know, and things were never okay. You know what I mean? Like when it didn't feel good, that was never okay with me. When I didn't get to where I wanted to go, it wasn't okay, you know, and I was always investigating everything around me, including ideas and people, and you know, looking at folks and saying, well, they say that they have the key to it, but they don't look like it, you know, just like being real. And so it was never okay with me. I've always like felt like there's something else, you know, because evolution, I didn't know the word evolution back then, but evolution is important. Hold on one second, Rosemary. Excuse me. My YouTube family knows what's going on in my kitchen. But yeah, so yeah.
I think that's a good point to make, even for your audience. Like if because I was one of those people too, where it was like, this is not okay with me. Like, I get that this is how I was taught reality is, but I can't live with this reality. I can't experience life in this way. And when you're one of those people who it causes to, wherever you've looked, whatever avenues you've gone down, to say like, I have to find something. It's like a thirst that you have to quench. Like, I have to figure this out. I know that I can't live like this for the rest of my life. It's that deep, deep desire and determination that brings us to the place to have the courage to go into the darker things so that we can make way for the light. Like that feeling that you have within you that knows that the light is there and that something better is possible is not lying to you. That is the greatest truth in life.
It is. It is. I'm finding that to be very true in my 50s. And it makes me feel like good. Like my heart is happy. Like life is still happening around me, but my heart is happy. And I'm excited about all things pertaining to life. I mean, I really am. I am. It's beautiful. And I've been sharing that with other people. I have one young lady in my email, and she was like, Cheryl Grabowski, I think I'm going to move to another state and I'm going to take another job. What do you think? I'll be leaving my family behind. And I was like, girl, do it, do it, do it. You know, I mean, life is to be lived. It's to be lived.
And it really is true about like following your heart and like our desires are so important. They are the key to life. They are what creates everything for everyone and our entire world, right? Behind everything was a desire for something, whether it is what created the internet or what gets you to the next place you want to live or the next job or the next relationship. It's the desire that is the fuel that is moving us forward. And that's another reason why it's so important to get into a place where you trust yourself and you trust your desires and you're willing to follow those desires, even if it feels like it's a risk, because the intuitive feeling that says I'm meant to do this is stronger than the, oh my God, this is a risk. It could go wrong. Like, and even that game of playing that game of risk, it makes life fun. I think it's a big part of why we as spirits decided to come to planet Earth and have this experience here.
Yes, I just did a video and a little snippet of the video I talked about, I think I did it Sunday, about being spirit, the way that I look at it, and deciding to have an Earth experience. And so why not explore? But all of these kind of ideas coming from where I come from in my life, being people who are just mostly like religious. A lot of these ideas are just, to them, they've told me that they're scary. So, they deal a lot with the spirit of fear. And I used to too, because fear is energy and it's real, but you can shift it. You can shift it. And so I've been shifting. And so now I don't even deal with that much, just a little bit.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. I think to some degree we were all taught that, right? Like just keep working harder and forgive people and blame everything on yourself. And that's how you live life. But at some point we go, yeah, this doesn't feel good. Something's out of whack here and I need to change it.
And just knowing, for you guys that are watching the video today, just knowing that you can change it. Yes. And that's why Rosemary and I are here today. We both talk about having a strong desire to help others navigate through life and to change things that you don't want, So that's what we're here for. And I hope you guys are getting value from the video. I know that you are. You'll let me know in the comment section below.
Yes.
So what else should we talk about, Ms. Broco?
Well, I think what you just said is probably the most important message that we could even give to your audience, is that if you're struggling, right? If you're in that place where, you keep finding yourself in uncomfortable relationships or uncomfortable in yourself or in a place where you don't want to be, that you don't have to stay there. It is possible to get to that other side, that place that you want to get to. It exists. And actually it will completely and utterly blow your mind, because I know where I am. It's like when the good things really start flowing and you're really living in life where instead of constantly having bad stuff show up or finding yourself in negative places, it's the opposite. And you're finding wonderful people and wonderful opportunities, and these things are showing up. It's like, holy cow, like these things are better than even what I was consciously thinking that I wanted. Like it's even, it will blow your mind in that what you want plus 1,000 is what's actually on the other side of that. And if you're no matter how much you're struggling, because believe me, I had PTSD, I was homeless at one point. I have had very severe trauma, and if I could get to the other side, anybody can get to the other side, as long as you're willing to put the work in and you're willing to be uncomfortable for a little while, because when you first start doing it, it's uncomfortable.
I went through
is woo.
The payoff is bomb, but honey, the uncomfortability is real. But you know what? I've always been courageous, you know, and part of being uncomfortable, folks can look at it like, well, I'm willing to fight for my life. So if I'm uncomfortable, then that's fine. You know, it's just like being sick and you're going through, but if you get this thing done, then you get your life back. And it's like that, but it's in the mental, emotional world.
That was really powerful that you're fighting for your life, because that's, I know from myself, that's what it felt like, and it was for a long, like I said, since I was 19, I just turned 48. It's, you're fighting for your life. Like, it's like, I have to have this, and it's a matter of life or death. And so
that's right.
I have to do it.
And when I reached out to you, that's exactly where I was. You know, I knew a lot of information. I met a lot of people. I've done a lot of living, a lot of loving, a lot of hurting. And I'm just like, it felt like, you know, like I've birthed 4 people in this world. And this wasn't physical pain. It was emotional pain, but it was just as intense. I literally felt like I was dying. And I reached out, and I don't know, guys, if somebody's here and you're listening and you felt this way, you know, there's better. You can get past this. Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely.
So I'm going to link, we're not going to end the Zoom though, but I'll have Rosemary's information linked in my description box below.
Thank you. Yeah.
You're welcome.
So what next?
I don't know. That was powerful for the first Zoom.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And just so your audience knows, like, we just started doing this. We want to share what people want to know. So if they want to say in the comments, like, what resonated, what other questions they have, give us that feedback, because we'll use that information to make sure that we're sharing what people want to know.
Right. We discussed in the video, big T's and little T's. We talked about the shadows, what the shadow is. Rosemary gave her a description of that. We talked about the subconscious mind and the conscious mind. And we talked about those things. So those are heavy things. The shadow work, I would really like to teach them more or talk more about that, to bring them into that. Because that was powerful for me. And it was a little scary at first. It was. So anyway, if you all are interested, just let us know in the comment section, and it'll give us a guide for where we go from here on out.
Yep.
Okay. Well, Rosemary, I thank you so much. Yay.
Thank you, Cheryl. And thank you to your YouTube audience for welcoming me.
And they're waiting. They've Sunday Rose, she left a message, and she says, because I told her, I said, you know, I can be quite the critic sometimes, and I'm working on that. And she said, Cheryl Grabowski, I'm here for it all. I'm here for the coach. I'm here for it all. And some others have said that. So they're here. Okay. And awesome. So we'll see you. When will we do it again, Rosemary? We'll talk about that off camera.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But we'll figure it out soon.
Okay. All right. Kisses and hugs. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. And you all will see us back soon. Love you guys. Have a good evening. Bye, Rosemary.
Bye.
Okay. In meeting.